Let me get into the stuff that I guess the more, I would say, the less personal stuff. Let's get into
All
the
right,
less
that sounds good.
personal stuff
Yeah, we could start there.
because we got a lot of personal stuff on this. So um, I just wanted to kind of mention, I in preparing for this broadcast, I really wanted to get some stuff that compared what was going on with Apple Plus versus Disney Plus, and I couldn't really find anything. It's really kind of weird. It's almost like there's a blackout right now on any numbers for Apple Plus. Are you familiar with any numbers from Apple Plus at all?
I haven't heard anything about Apple Plus at all. I know it wasn't generating the response that they were initially hoped. But wait, are we talking about Disney Plus or Apple Plus?
Apple Plus. I'm just preparing the article.
Okay, yeah, um, yeah. For Apple Plus, I haven't heard anything. I just know I'd heard some scuttlebutt here and there that it wasn't the huge hit success thing that they were hoping it was going to be. But then also too, I've noticed there are quite a few people that are kind of evangelizing it and very excited about it too. There are some pockets, you know what I mean? But I haven't heard anything in terms of like numbers or any kind of measurable response in terms of audience or subscribers.
Well, I went looking for it and I couldn't find a thing. Not one article that talks about Apple Plus numbers. The only thing I found was something on Apple Plus News, which I didn't even know there was an Apple Plus News. I couldn't find anything. But interestingly enough, I did find this CNET article, and this gets into Disney Plus, and this has been widely reported by other news sources. This is the number I've heard. This is a CNET article. It's dated November 13th, and it says Disney Plus has more than 10 million subscribers. So that seems like that is a pretty big hit for your first week. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, pretty much within reason, pretty much everyone I know, with the exception of one person I talked to today, um, basically signed up for Disney Plus, and that's. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not talking about like hundreds of people, but I'm just talking about within my immediate circle of like family and friends and people I talk to or I interact with, whether it's through work or whatever. Pretty much almost every person I've talked to, with the exception of one, has signed up for Disney Plus.
Yeah, and so they do kind of talk about some numbers in here. So they say Disney Plus, Disney's highly anticipated streaming service, has signed up more than 10 million subscribers since launching early Tuesday. Disney said this on Wednesday. By comparison, HBO Now took nearly 3 years to reach half that number. That's the kind of stuff I find interesting. Now, Hulu, another streaming service owned by Disney, has 28 million subscribers after its launch more than a decade ago. So in 10 years, they've gotten up to 28 million. Netflix, which dominates the market for subscription streaming video, has more than 150 million members globally after introducing streaming over a decade ago. So it's kind of interesting to compare. Like, obviously, Hulu and Netflix kind of have the same time period. They kind of came out around the same time, and you can just see how Netflix totally dominates Hulu, 28 million compared to
Right.
150 million. But at the same time, I think this comparison about HBO Now versus Disney is probably a pretty good comparison to tell you that Disney's probably on the right track right now to grow Disney Plus. They seem like they're in a good position. And then also the fact that I can't find any numbers on Apple Plus tells me that they're losing these streaming wars right now. But I've always made the case, I made this case before, that Apple Plus may not really care because it is Apple. And compared to any of these other companies, they've got deep pockets. And I think their thing is we're just going to put stuff out there and we can outspend these guys. We talked earlier about the amount of debt that Netflix is incurring right now to produce this new content. So
Right.
this isn't the whole story of the streaming wars. There are behind the scenes, there are numbers as far as what's going on with their financing and their finances in general. So Apple's got the deep pockets. So I kind of feel like that's their strategy right now, especially with this sort of blackout on their numbers where they're not really reporting their numbers at all. So that I'm kind of given this round right now of the streaming wars, the Disney seems to be winning, but I don't know if that means they're going to win in the long run.
Yeah, I think that and to be honest, I mean, I think Apple Plus is a few, just a couple of well packaged, genre franchise type properties away from being a player. If they had something that was a little bit more obviously marketable or had an already built in audience, I think Apple Plus will be doing a little bit better. A lot of their content that they have on there, with the exception of Snoopy, the majority of that content that they have on their service is brand new. It's always harder to sell something that's brand new versus to sell something that people are already a little bit familiar with. Because that's the big difference I see, that Apple Plus, they don't have anything that people are familiar with. So they're essentially ice skating uphill, as Blade would say. And I do remember I should drop some expletive deletos from time to time just to make sure people know that this is definitely a show for adults. But I did intentionally not quote Blade directly because I didn't want to drop the F-bomb on the show. But anyhow, I think that for them, that's what they're doing. They're kind of doing this the tough way, which, is, either applauding them for, being creatives, or whatever. But I don't know. Time will tell. But I think they're just a couple of, recognizable franchise, type of properties away from, having something that could be in the game.
Yeah. And also just something interesting about these numbers in this article, it does say Disney didn't specify how many of those subscribers signed up through the Verizon promotion. Because Verizon, if you have Verizon, you can get Disney Plus for free for a year. So we don't know how many of those 10 million are just Verizon customers who are getting the service for free.
Well, and I have a feeling that the number is because what did the headline read again? What did the headline originally read? It says
Disney Plus has more than 10
has
million.
More than. I'm pretty sure that number is higher. And, I mean, because like I said, every person I know and every person I've talked to signed up for Disney Plus with the exception of one person. So let me see if I can do the math. I mean, that's 1 out of 15 people. That's a pretty high conversion rate on a sale. Right. I mean? So, yeah. I think it might be significantly higher than 10, but they're just not in a position that they have to really announce to the world, where they are. So, because I mean, most of these numbers are, Netflix might even be higher than 150. I don't know. I mean, I just sometimes when I look at these numbers, I mean, unless you have something that there's a more obvious accounting of it, I always wonder. So.
Well, it does say that Disney said they won't release any more membership numbers outside of their regular earning calls. So there won't be any updates until at least early next year. So this is the last we'll get as far as numbers from Disney of what their subscription looks like. But I do want to say, again, the lack of coverage for Apple Plus tells me that there's a little bit of a media blackout there and their numbers are bad. That's just me using logic,
Right.
That their numbers are not what they're hoping for or we're expecting. But again, Apple's got the deep pockets, much deeper than Disney.
Okay.